Yes, I'm sure I want to start the stream. Okay, we should be streaming now. Let me confirm if it shows up. Yeah, it's showing up on Facebook at least, so that should be fine. Yep. Okay, cool. Go live. Let's check out if all is working okay on Twitch. Yes, it is. Great. Okay.
Are we on now?
We are live now, yeah. So I will spam this. And should probably change the playlist to the default. Yeah, that would probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
IRC. Are you on IRC, Urs? Can you spam there?
Yes. Oh
okay.
Yeah. Right.
Thank you. I will forward the link on Facebook, I guess. Group.
I'm also going to spam some Uberlauter internal communication channels.
Ah, that's important. What's your Jumalauta nickname again, Urs?
I would never disclose that.
It's private information?
Yes. It's confidential.
I see. Well, I will go get myself a beer, so be right back.
Oh, that is not a bad idea. I think we have about 5 to 6 seconds lag to Twitch.
Oh, I'm not even watching the Twitch.
I have it all on the second screen here just to see the chat.
Okay. Yeah, we should open that one too. Yeah, Twitch lag seems kind of huge.
Yeah, I think it's about 6-7 seconds. Something like that. And here's our host, PS, back
Hello.
again.
Back from the depths of hell, also known as my kitchen. I made a mess with the beer. It was shaken, not stirred, so it just spilled everywhere.
That was what I wanted.
Yeah. Come on. Urofune. So what do you have beer? What beer do you have, Urs?
It's a Faro Lambic from Lindemans. I don't even remember where I got this from. I think I got it from Sir Garbage Truck. And it's been in my fridge for quite a while, so now is the time to pick it.
Faro.
Normally I hate Lambics, so this is the perfect beer to drink slowly. Cheers!
Cheers. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of lambics either.
Oh, this was pretty nice.
I think I tried that once, at least the name sounds familiar. What is it of? Like, what fruit?
Since it's from Belgium, I see French and I see Flemish. Gebrouwen met mout, tarwe, hop, water en gist.
That doesn't sound like a fruit. That sounds like water and malt.
I have no idea.
Okay.
Neither my French nor my Flemish are good enough.
Okay, but maybe the internet knows. Let's search. Faro, Lambic.
It's very sweet for a lambic. Not so fruity at all.
In Belgium, Faro. In Belgium, a blend of equal parts of two types of lambic beer, one of high density and one of lower density, sweetened with sugar and sometimes colored with caramel and diluted with water. It is now practically extinct, and the Van der Linden Brewery is one of the very last to perpetuate this tradition, also called Faro Lambic.
Yes. So, apparently this is something special.
So you're drinking 2 lambic beers in one.
Ah.
With water.
Water. Horrible.
You never have to
Yeah,
much water.
it does taste like beer with water and more beer, so that's good.
And fruits, no fruits. Should taste like fruits.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's a lambic. It's supposed to taste of fruits. That's the definition of lambic. Like spontaneous combustion out of fruits.
Yeah.
Not
Let me
today.
Google the ingredients.
Okay, so we're watching some stuff from Alchemy Party. While we wait for the hour to arrive, still have 22 minutes left. So plenty of time to drink our beers and watch some demos. Britelite, you did some stuff for the Atari as well, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
But only for the Falcon or also for the lower end?
For the mainly on the ST, but I did one Falcon demo, which was actually just a well, both of them were kind of ports from the Amiga.
Okay.
And now for the Silly Venture part, I'm actually making something for that Power Links.
Cool. New platform.
Yeah.
I think this demo is just a scroller though. Is this like after Beast, or I don't remember the name of the game?
Shadow of the Beast.
Shadow of the Beast.
Yeah.
That's it. Close enough, it had Beast in it. Okay, let's move on to Glockzilla by MJJ. It's also for the Atari ST. The temptation to quit will be greatest just before you are about to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
You know that joke about succeeding? So there's this guy who comes to a new town and he really wants to succeed in life. So he sees this poster says, succeed, go to this address. And he goes, well, I want to succeed, so let's go there. So he goes there and he looks around and he sees a scribble on the wall, to succeed, knock on door, something something. So he goes up to the door, knocks on the door. The door opens up. There's this big black guy. Hello, I'm Sid.
Ha ha ha.
Yeah, that took a while. Great.
I became a mess though. Let me get a paper to clean this. You're talking about Truck and beers. Strangely enough, I didn't manage to have Truck on the show yet. We
Really?
tried once, but his laptop and his webcam on the laptop don't really cooperate with
Yeah,
Linux.
I guess he's not a Skype kind of person. He told me, however, to make sure that during the show I will comment on the fact that Grind is not an AGA demo.
We will actually play Grind today again, so
Good.
we will be able to amply mention that. Britelite, are you part of the assembly organizing this team this year again?
Yeah,
Okay, so maybe we can talk a little bit about the old school category and that kind of stuff.
yeah, of course.
Did you have that meeting about the size limits on the PC platform that Navis was talking about on Tuet yet? Or
We will have it this weekend.
okay, so no news on that front yet.
No.
So it sounds like Navis intends to win once again.
Using a lot of kinetic
Data.
captured data. So I can hear the sounds of people retracting their demo plans from assembly already.
Well, I'll have to do 64K again, don't I?
Yeah. I heard you must, because you were one of the people who were pushing so much for the 64K to exist again, and assembly, so... If you don't deliver, people will be pissed.
Well, if it's again only 3 entries, then we just let it be. But if it's 4, then it's good.
So, Zamdi on the chat is asking, where's your beer, Britelite?
Well, I don't have any beers.
He only has whiskey.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm. 15 minutes left till the start of the show.
Can the Twitch viewers already hear what we're saying, or are we still on mute?
No, they're here.
Okay, hello Twitch people! We're not on yet!
You can watch some demos from Alchemy while we rant about beers and Truck not being able to figure out his webcam. But yeah, but I want to have a Truck on and maybe make a special about beers in the demo scene. That would be interesting. Have maybe Truck and Frankie and some other person who is into beers.
Have Maya on, who he just founded his own brewery with together with some friends.
Oh really? Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, when I was living in Finland, they have a lot of craft beers bars there. Like compared to Portugal, they are a lot high end. I started getting more into craft beer stuff while I was in Finland just because of that. Because if you
if it's expensive anyway, you might as well buy one that's a little bit more expensive.
Yeah, that's exactly my point. When I was there, like, you know, either €5 totally crap beer or €8 and pretty awesome beer, so
yep.
I ended up discovering a lot of the craft beer stuff. This entry that is playing now, I think one demo splash that just took place in New York, I believe. I hadn't seen it before yet. Looks pretty good. I think it's a 4K.
Yeah, it's by 7, so it's either 4K or 8K. I think it's 4K. Or 6K says the title, so then it's apparently 6K.
I don't think it's just from 7. I think there was another coder involved, and 7 only helped him.
Right.
Because they do have some members from US. Originally, Fulcrum was like 2-3 guys from the US, and 7 here on Europe. So I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe the main coder is actually a US guy.
Okay. Yeah, but I mean, the way it looks, it shares a lot of the 7 rendering technology.
And it has fractals. Bum, 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 bum.
And it does sound like Forkline.
Bum, bum. I'm not sure if they use Forkline or if they use one of the other synths. But if you say it sounds like Forkline, I will believe you.
But it sounds like Forkline presets, but I might be wrong.
I'm not a soft synth, a 4K soft synth expert yet. I did a video like comparing the different ones. I felt so out of touch, like that I hadn't actually used them before. I feel a bit bad about it actually. I wish I had made a better job out of it. But I just have to try them. Oh, nice effect. Yeah, and this entry is the first time that someone did an entry for that Fujitsu something. I don't know the name of it. Maybe. I don't know the name of the platform.
Probably some kind of Z80 based weird thing.
It sounds horrible.
That's always a good thing.
Mm-hmm. Everybody can make demos that sound good.
Hello, YZI, welcome to the stream. How you doing? 10 minutes left until we officially start. Beep, beep, beep,
Now
beep,
we're just here, drinking beer, listening to an old Japanese computer, making, well, noise, I suppose.
And lines.
Mm.
Fujitsu Micro, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it's cool that people still do, you know, demos for new platforms.
Yeah. By the way, the volume control here in the Watch Together, is that a shared one or is that just for me?
It's just for you.
Okay, there, so I can turn it up a bit without blowing out the viewers' ears. This looks very Spectrum. I mean,
Yep.
the Spectrum loading thing at the beginning was indicative of that, but also the effect.
Yeah, actually, that loading wasn't very regular for Spectrum because it's like a modded Spectrum with a hard drive and stuff.
Mm. And there's Blueberry again.
Welcome back, Blueberry.
Thank you.
Did you bring beer with you?
No, I brought Coke.
Ah!
It's like beer, except in Danish colors.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Talking about Danish colors, yeah.
I think this demo got second place at Demo Splash. It was made by Goblinish. I never know how to pronounce his nickname. It's supposed to be Goblin, I guess. Goblinish. Yeah.
Goblinish? Isn't it Goblinish?
Yeah, I guess.
Mhm.
Got second place on the old school demo combo at Demo Splash. And it has triangles going in multiple directions. It's a bit of a iFuck effect.
It has more triangles.
Oh yeah. At the end, he has a poll of what object you want him to use for the next demo, if it's circles or squares. So you get to decide.
Ooh.
So
What
many
can he do?
options. Infinite triangle.
Twitch stream is quite delayed.
Yeah,
No,
that's
it's like
normal.
10 seconds late, I think.
Usually have lag because it's restream encoding.
Yeah.
One more reason why you shouldn't follow on Twitch, but just look at Watch Together and Skype.
But we need to follow on Twitch to see the chat, right?
Yeah, but I mean, just mute it on Twitch or stop it and just look at the chat.
Yeah, I haven't. I have muted the Twitch. Yeah, it's just a bit confusing that the images are.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Thank you for watching 3 demo. What theme to choose? Oh, you also can choose smileys. Circles or smileys. So pick. Vote now. I think I prefer circles. Although smileys, technically speaking, smileys are inside a circle. So it's still circles.
Circular eyes. I mean, depending on how it goes in the spectrum.
Okay, let's move on to the next demo.
Hold on, this is from Deadline, isn't it?
Tersak. Allon made a demo for Tersak and for Deadline.
Ah, yeah, right, that was this one. Yeah, right.
Holon are on a spree of demo making. Jungle is massive. Yes, Jeff. Is massive. Is the name of the demo. Yep, made with cables GL, that is correct. I think it's browser based though, not executable. But it probably can be exported as well to an executable. There are some node modules that let you do that. Like embed a mini browser in your executable and just launch your web page. Huh. I don't think this can be considered drum and bass.
It has drums, it has bass. Also, I guess it is in the remotest sense an armor break. Or like the rhythm pattern of it is not entirely dissimilar.
It feels more jungle than drum and bass, but it does have drums and it does have bass, that's true. But you know, I have been known for getting my music genres wrong, so let's call it big beat.
Oh, whoop whoop.
Oh. Drum and bass with a more old school jungle feel. Okay, I stand corrected. And this is the checkerboard challenge.
Which we will hear about.
We will discuss later on the stream. It's a call for entries for GURP. Yeah, the music is great on this one, isn't it?
Yeah. Of course, after the previous one, this is a step down, but it's still more hip hoppy. Hey to Punctured, who just appeared on the chat. We're not an entirely bearded panel today.
I'm working on it. Still got a long while to go, but
I have decided to make up for Blueberry's lack of full face hairiness by just duplicating the amount of my facial hair. So there's enough to go around.
Actually, today I saw this animation GIF from Wister TPOLM and a few other groups. So he had like a massive beard all the way to here, and he decided to shave it. So he did like a time capture thing of him, of the thing disappearing. That was awesome.
I would never.
Blasphemy. And yeah, Jeff, I remember the Ishkur's guide to music, like with different examples and where the genres spin off from each other. That was awesome. I remember having a website with something similar. It wasn't called Ishkur's though, it was called something else, but I don't remember anymore. Mostly for electronic music though, but I love those kind of genre mappings things. They can get so complex.
Maybe I should sign up for Twitch so I can write in the comments.
Yeah,
that
could be useful.
Shout.
Yeah, you can also just read and communicate, but both
Username not available.
You already exist. So I think it's 9 o'clock, at least in Lisbon. So welcome everybody to Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000. Season 2, episode 14. Today we will be talking about checkerboards and their limits and why they're not being fully explored on Amiga properly yet. We will go back to that in a little while longer. We have 3 guests with us again. I'm your host, PS, by the way. We have 3 guests today. We have Britelite, we have Urs, and we have Blueberry. Urs is the non-Amiga coder who made Amiga entries, so he's the noob Amiga guy. So he's here to give us the PC coder perspective on the checkerboard limits. And the other guys are ancient Amiga coders. Both of you started in the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, actually, on the Amiga, I started in the 2000s, but I started coding in the 90s.
Okay, close enough.
Yep.
So let's get started. We will start with the Blueberry today, actually, because we have a cunning plan to reach the climax on the checkerboard intro. So let's start with
It all fits together.
yeah, it all fits together into a perfect plan. So I was asking Blueberry earlier on a demo that made him want to be active in the demo scene, and he said this one. Seeing is believing by Anarchy. So how did this demo make you want to join the demo scene, Blueberry?
Well, I don't think there was a demo as such that made me want to join the demo scene, but this was one of the demos that I remember seeing when I knew about the demo scene but didn't really consider myself part of the demo scene yet, so that's why I chose this one.
Okay. So when did you first start programming and got into computers?
So I started programming on one of my friends' Commodore 64. Actually, wrote some basic. You know, they had his manuals with basic programs, and I thought, this is fun. I can make the computer do things. So I started coding some basic on that. And then later on, I got an Amiga, and well, in between, I'd also had I had a Commodore 16 actually, and wrote a lot of basic for that. This was where I sort of developed, started coding, and then I got an Amiga, and I wanted to do programming on that as well. So I tried this. Amiga basic thing that wasn't really any good.
How popular were Amigas in Denmark?
What?
How popular were the Amigas in Denmark?
I think quite a lot. I knew a bunch of people that had Amigas actually. So and it became more and more. But the thing is, I sort of figured that to do anything serious coding on Amiga, you needed to program in C. So the thing back then was, it was before the internet and everything. So where do I get a C compiler? Well, of course you go to the local swapper. That was toastmaster of bacteria, lived close by, and he could always find all sorts of software when he wanted it. So I went to him and asked him if he had a C compiler, and he said, no, C is a terrible language. You should not code in C. You should code in assembler. Okay.
Obviously.
So I got S1 and started learning assembler because that's what code.
This is actually the same thing that Truck said to me when I wanted to start learning Amiga coding, but that was last year.
So it's still actual.
Yeah,
it's still wrong.
Anyway. Probably 91, something like that.
So how did you end up joining your first demo group? I remember the name of it was Ifrit. Is this correct?
Ifrit, yeah. So there was just a couple of people I met who happened to also have Amigas and do some coding and other stuff on that. So we banded together and started making our first demos. The first demo party that we went to was in '95. That was South Zealand, '95. So we did a couple of things the first few years, but I think that the real breakthrough that we did was Peanut in '96. It was the party '96.
I was trying to find a video of that, but sadly there is no capture of it yet.
Yeah, that should have that done at some point. Capture from a real Amiga, because the emulator is bugging. So,
yeah, you were telling me you have this bug for that demo for 15 years on your to-do list. So the emulator has been broken for 15 years. It doesn't work. Go on.
So I know exactly what the bug is in the emulator. Just never had gotten around to telling anyone about it or trying to fix it.
So you're delaying history of accuracy emulation for 15 years. Don't you feel guilty about that?
Yeah, I do.
Can you share us what the bug is in case someone wants to go fix it?
Yes. So the bug is that on a real Amiga, when you convert not a number from floating point to integer, then you get -1, but in the emulator you get 0. So
okay, that's a pretty ridiculous bug. Okay, so let's play one of your first demos, the first one we could find on YouTube. This is also by Ifrit. It's called Deep Pan, the Final Slice.
Yeah, so this has sort of a weird history, because the first version of this was made for South Zealand '96, but that wasn't really finished, so we made a sort of a final one for the party in '97, which turned out actually not to be quite finished either, so we made this one, which is the final
as final as it gets. So this was back in '97. Okay.
Yeah, well, this version of it was released in '98 actually.
But there were a lot of PCs already around at the time. Why did you still have an Amiga? Did you not own a PC at all, or did you just love the machine so much?
I didn't have really any connection to PCs. I actually didn't get my first PC until 2001.
Okay.
Just used Amiga until then. Amiga and also some of the Unix machines at the university, but sort of for personal use, it was just Amiga until then.
Okay.
So yeah, I think Peanut was kind of groundbreaking. Not for us, of course, because wow, this was a 4K, and we figured that 4K was really the thing that we wanted to do. That was our thing.
Yeah, you still focus a lot on the 4K category. Why do you have such strong focus on that?
Yeah, well, that's just what I like to do. I mean, I think the 4K is 4K is so challenging because you always have to make compromises. You can't just fill in things, and it's also still it's space enough that you can actually do good things in it. So that's why I like 4K.
You ended up specializing in making synths, especially for 4K, and the packer, of course, that everyone knows. Can you tell us a little bit of when those synths and the packers started being needed? When did you first start creating them?
Well, it was quite an important part of Peanut actually. One of the things that made it special was that it was the first 4K. I think actually we had fairly complex music, you know, with generated samples and multiple channels and voices and everything.
So was that already using Synter? Was that already?
No. Synter is many years later. No,
okay.
That was, but I actually didn't make the synth for Peanut. That was Lemos, so I can't take credit for that. But I think all the 4Ks I've made some kind of synth for them, at least on Amiga. So it's quite a lot, you know. Add them all up, and try out lots of things. I think, you know, music is very important. You know, it always starts. It's often like that for the development as well. It starts with the music and for the music.
And how easy is it to find musicians to do stuff for 4Ks? Because musicians usually can't code.
I think it's fairly easy. I try out lots of different musicians. I think it's fun working with different musicians and trying out how different music styles turn into different intros. Because I usually don't have this clear picture in my head of what I want to do. I can have some ideas for effects or something, but the actual design of the intro doesn't start until I have the music. And so depending on what kind of music it is, the intro will turn out very different.
Okay. This one that we're watching now is actually a 64K. So usually do 4Ks. Why did you decide to do a 64K on this one?
Okay, so I in '98 I joined Loonies because I wanted to try out doing bigger stuff, demos and so on, and we didn't really have the talent for that in Ifrit. We have no one who could do graphics or anything like that. So I wanted to try out that, and Loonies were doing some quite entertaining things at the time. So I thought that would be the most interesting group to be part of. So that's why I joined Loonies. And then I had many years of good cooperation with Psycho, and usually how the things fit together that is that he would do many of the higher level stuff in the productions, that I would do the low level rendering stuff. So it's the same, for instance, in this intro in the castle. The rendering, the perspective, correct texture mapping, and chunky to planar and so on was done by me, and basically everything else, texture generation and scripting and all these things were done by Psycho. And that's usually how we fitted together, so we complemented each other very well in that sense.
Okay. This Castle intro reminds me a lot of that intro from, I think, Potion, called The Gift. Was this on the same compo, or was it like 1 year later?
Let's see, Gift was 2000. I can't see why this reminds you of Gift. Gift is very different.
I don't know, because textures, lots of content, small size, Amiga.
Flyby of static geometry.
I don't recall Gift having that many 3D scenes.
No, I don't think Gift really has much of that. Gift has all these sorts of blended stuff and this Goa music pumping all the way through. Gift is an amazing demo. It's
okay, you caught me. I'm a PC scener. I'm not an Amiga guy. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Wasn't this in the same compo as Planet Potion?
Yes.
It probably was. Yeah. I think it was. Now this one was quite inspired by the when we ride on our enemies by Scala doing the perspective texture mapping. He was sort of the first one doing that, and we wanted to.
But I mean, this one has a lovely.
Non-static geometry.
Lovely steady frame rate in this one.
Yeah, this is one of the first ones utilizing this frame queue trick. So it generates, it has as a big buffer in chip memory containing frames, and then it fills them up and then plays them with a steady frame rate. So even when the effect itself varies a bit in frame rate, you can have a steady frame rate as long as you, on average, can render them fast enough. So that's why you get this completely steady 25 FPS.
Okay, so you made like a whole buffer thing. That's interesting. We're watching another entry now called Planet Loonies. This is a 4K again.
Yeah, that's. I think it's fun to do remakes. I think this one was maybe one of the first ones. Well, it actually started in the sense that I had this. It was one of, again, the music that started it, or the sound. I had this synth we could do sort of like a speech synthesis or something which sounded enough like it if you wrote the text on the screen at the same time, which is what matters.
Yeah.
And then I thought it could be fun to do some remakes of scenes from well-known demos that had speech in them. So that's why it ended up being this.
Yeah, I recognize the code inside at least, because I went to that party and it was the cold inside, not the code.
That's true. Yeah.
Freeze point 2003, I think. Yeah.
4. Yeah.
Okay,
and Nexus 7, of course, because it rules.
Yeah. So the next one that we're going to show is actually a PC 4K. So at what point did you guys decide to move into PC land?
Yeah, so that was around 2004. Psycho started experimenting with shaders sort of before everyone else. And I guess my PC adventure started when I met Mentor, and we wanted to do something together, and then I started looking into PC and how this thing worked, and then we had again this problem that we wanted to make a PC 4K, but we weren't really satisfied with the existing tools for compressing 4Ks. So we needed to make the compressor first. So that's why we made Crinkler. Well, not just that, also because the existing techniques that were used had a lot of compatibility problems, and we wanted to force people into making things compatible so that they would be working on all different versions of Windows and so on. And the only way we could force people to use a tool was if it was better than all the other ones. So, but that wasn't actually the main goal. The main goal was the compatibility.
I remember watching this at the party, and it wouldn't end. It would always have one more scene, one more element popping up. So that was completely insane. So at the time it came out, 4Ks weren't used to have multiple scenes. You were usually like one effect, maybe two effects, and music. And yours just had insane amounts of content. So that was mostly because of Crinkler, right?
I don't think it's. I don't think the special thing about this 4K is the amount of content, because there were 4Ks before this that had lots of different things. I think the special thing about this is the sort of the build up and the way that things look very modeled. They don't look procedural, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, random noisy textures or objects or something. It's actually something that looks like something. And of course the amazing music by Purix, using Mentor synth actually.
So were you doing some synths here? Well, you already said that you were doing synths for Amiga. Were you started developing your PC synths at this point, or was it only later?
That was not until later.
Okay.
So this so the first PC synth I made was what later became Klinkster, and that actually started as an Amiga synth, and then I ported it to PC.
How does that work? Because that's an entirely different approach.
Well, it wasn't, in the sense that even in the Amiga version it was generating all the sound in one big buffer, and then playing it. So that worked. There was some problems with the pre-calc time to begin with, but yeah.
It's okay. PCs have enough enough processing power. They can handle.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, I think one of the. So this is actually this Luminati. This is the one where the synth was used. The Amiga version of the synth was used for the first time, and again it started with the music. I had this idea. I wanted to make this. Like synth pop music, like 80s synthesizer music kind of thing. So that's why I made the synth for it like that. And then there was this voxel idea. So there's an article I wrote about this particular intro, which you can read if you want.
This one is called Luminagia, by the way, for people who are watching who don't recognize it.
So yeah, there are a couple of different ideas coming together in this one. This was the new synth and this voxel effect, and a new chunker to planar technique as well, where it was sort of doing half of the conversion using a CPU and the rest using the blitter, which meant that it could run with the extra high frame rate. So there are a couple of different concepts coming together like that, to say.
Puncture is saying that the first synth was called LNSFM synth. So you really picked a very easy to say name.
Yeah, I started, lately to give tools, more characteristic names from the beginning. I still have the problem that there's the tool. I have this 4K demo tool that we used for a lot of 4Ks. Atrium in particular, I think it's known for, where it's not coded directly. It's actually a demo tool where you put boxes and connect them and all sorts of stuff. And it's also used for one Amiga intro. I think we'll see that one later. But I want to release this tool, but I don't know what name I should give it, and that's a problem for me.
In Mercury, we have a couple of tools that are named after the first screenshot that we uploaded, and we just took the Imgur file name of it. So our synth is called SQRCTL, for example.
Okay, yeah.
That's one way to solve it.
Yeah, the first intro that was made using using this tool was called Candy Stall. It was the Assembly 2007.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I'm thinking it could be candy something, but I don't know.
Candy juice.
Candy juice. Candy blue.
Candy Loonies.
Candies.
Candelabra.
Candelabra. I was thinking about that actually. Yeah, a good one.
Okay, let's check out the next stuff we have in store on the playlists. We have an Amiga demo called Ikadawampu by Loonies.
Ikadawampu, yes. So that's also a 4K, which was also made using this tool. So that was sort of the opposite direction of the synth, right? This was a tool made for PC, which I then used for an Amiga intro. Sort of, you know, suitably reduced. I mean, the tool was originally in 3D, but this is just 2D. But the principle is the same actually. So the tool, you connect things and you have some primitives you can render, and there's this graph which it runs through every frame, basically like a scene graph. And then the tool outputs some bytecode, which is included in the intro because that's more compact than ordinary code. And there's a small interpreter in the intro that interprets the bytecode to do the visuals. Actually, in some of the later intros is actually a small compiler, so it compiles the bytecode into x86 code and runs it. But I think for this one, it was just interpreting the bytecode. And this is the same synth as Luminaria.
So what does the title mean? Does it mean anything? Is it actually an actual word?
Actually, it does mean something. It means the 20th in Tagalog, which is the language from the Philippines. And the background was that I made this intro Ikanim with a walking guy, the popular demo parody thing. And I found out at some point that Ikanim means sixth in Tagalog. And it turned out that Ikanim was actually also my sixth 4K. So then this one was my 20th 4K. I think that it should be called 20 in Tagalog, which is another one.
I see a pattern.
I haven't named any other intros in Tagalog.
So only when you run out of names that you use that old trick. Mayor is asking who did this track.
That was Mates. He made the track both for this one and for Luminaria.
They do sound quite similar.
Yeah, he has his style, you could say.
So you usually never do demos, and we are about to watch a demo that you did. So how the hell did you end up doing a demo? There were just people were trying to do a demo and you just helped them out, or?
Oh no, some Polish guys kidnapped me and forced me to do a demo.
I think that happened to Britelite as well, didn't it?
Yeah, twice.
So beware of those Polish guys, they're out there. Yeah. So let's take a look. It's called Human Traffic, and it's by Ghost Town and Loonies. So what can you tell us about this? I particularly like the style that it was on. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I made a new demo system for this one, which used the GNU Rocket tool, because this I had used that for some PC things, and I saw this was just an amazing tool. I wanted to use that for Amiga. So everything in this demo is scripted using GNU Rocket. Yeah, what else? It was fun working with the Ghost Town guys because they had this very clear like visual imagination about how they wanted things to be, with the colors and the styles and everything. And some of the things they wanted to do didn't really fit what I wanted to do. They wanted to have no fancy texture map 3D. I just wanted the flat shaded ones because I was tired of texture mapping. But it sort of we made it fit in the end, right? And then I made this dither wipe thing, which we used all the way through because that was also a way to create some kind of consistency in the effects. By the way, the sort of the blending, the way the layers are blended together, that's using a palette trick that I learned from Kusma, where you can have 128 colors, like an arbitrary palette with 128 colors, and then you shade them a bit, but sort of shade them to 64 colors, because when you shade them a bit, make them a bit lighter, it doesn't matter that some of them get merged because the contrast is smaller anyway. So you can shade them to 64, then 32, 16, and so on until you have white in the end. And the smart thing about it is that this shading operation is just a shift operation on the byte value if you organize the palette properly. So that technique is used heavily in this demo.
Okay. Who made this soundtrack? The track is pretty good, and it's not very common that you hear vocals in Amiga soundtracks.
Yeah, no, that was Jazz Cat from Ghost Town.
Okay.
I think he makes the soundtrack for all the Ghost Town demos. So. Yeah, so it was. Yeah, originally it was for edition in 2011. It wasn't quite finished for the compo there, but this the one we're watching now is the final version, which we released at Riverwash 2011. So.
YZI is saying that the vocals are pretty common in Amiga demos compared to accordions, which apparently are not featured enough. So, pro tip right there. On your next Amiga demo, please use more accordions. So, what are we watching now? We are watching...
yeah, this is another 4K. So at some point, I was infected by this Amiga 500 craze that started a few years ago. Like Amiga 500 revival. So I wanted to do more Amiga 500 stuff. So this one is an intro made using a programming language that I made myself called Rose, which is it's a programming language where it's sort of multi-threaded. You can have many things going on at the same time, which means that it's quite natural for graphics, because usually you have different graphics elements going on at the same time anyway, and you can say, okay, this particular animation is done by doing this, waiting a bit, doing this, waiting a bit, and so on. And by being able to schedule these independently, you can make some quite interesting stuff.
It was a collaboration with Hoffman, I believe.
Yes, Hoffman did the music for this one.
And he later used your system on another entry on Everyway, which was quite good.
We used the same language for Everyway. So Hoffman is the person who has written by far the most Rose code. He's written much more than I have, because Hoffman is a huge production. Yeah.
The sync is extremely tight on point. Is it actually processing the music data in the Rose language, or is it just scripted hand?
This isn't actually. It's hand scripted. And it's single buffered. So everything is just a drawing on top of what is already there.
Okay, so now it's time for the checkerboard challenge. So what
Yes.
prompted you to create this intro?
Well, it's you know, challenges are fun, right? It used to be a very important part of the scene that people would challenge each other to have like more scrollers or more balls,
More
or
sprites
more
on
whatever.
screen, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and that's a fun thing to do, and there isn't much of that anymore. But a few years ago, Slummy had this rubber challenge, which was very fun, and a lot of coders participated in that.
So you decided to resurrect it, but now with checkerboards.
Yeah, so what prompted me to it was it's Overdrive 2 demo by Titan for this year's revision.
Yeah, it had an awesome checkerboard effect.
Yeah, it has a very nice checkerboard effect, and I was thinking, why isn't there such a nice checkerboard effect on Amiga? There should be. And then, you know, the intro itself, it was like, there's this meme in the scene that says make a demo about it, right? Somebody is complaining about something, he said go make a demo about it. So I thought I would try to actually follow that, and rather than just telling people about the challenge or say, hey, do this, then make a demo about it.
Yeah.
So that's what I did.
So people are supposed to deliver their entries to GURP 2018, which will be in February 2 to 4. It's on screen right now, 2018. So what are the rules for what is the accepted checkerboard effect, and which ones will be disqualified from the official challenge?
Well, the rules are all laid out in the intro and in the Pruitt thread and so on. And it's actually quite entertaining for me to see the Pruitt thread, because people are now digging deep into the rules and saying, actually, if you take this completely literally, then you can just do this, which is not interesting, and so on. And that's true. And I think maybe people are forgetting that this is a challenge and not a competition. There's a difference, and I think the difference between a challenge and a competition is that, you know, in a competition, if you break the rules, you get disqualified. Whereas in a challenge, if you break the rules, then you either get applauded if you do it in a creative way, or people would just point fingers at you and say, no, this is not good enough. You didn't really meet the challenge. So it's a challenge is about the creativity, right? It's about creating a cool checkerboard effect for Amiga. And of course there are some things that are set in stone. This is a challenge for Amiga 500. And even then, you know, if people come up with cool checkerboard effect for other platforms, that's good too. I mean,
can they submit it to GURP though? Does GURP support other platforms or just Amiga?
Yes. So GURP has this thing where, you know, they have some compo machines, Amiga, C64, and so on. And if you want an entry, if you have an entry for something which is not one of those, then you have to bring the hardware yourself. So, and that includes PC, for instance, because it's not a PC party as such, but they have a wild combo where you can enter PC entries.
I want to see a checkerboard effect for the VAC tracks. That should be interesting.
That could be cool. but no. To explain, I actually brought this thing to really explain what it is. It's a checkerboard, and you know, you can zoom it but
rotate
the thing which this
oh my god, that one folds! It's a new effect. It's a folding checkerboard effect.
This is what this the place where this really falls down with this one is that one of the rules in the checkerboard challenge here is that you have to fly through the checkerboards.
Okay.
I don't really know how to do this with a real checkerboard, but
you should have drilled holes before, and then
yeah, exactly. But with the checkerboard effects, where you know it's color and transparent, and then you can fly through the transparent ones. So that's the whole point. You are flying through it. That's what makes the effect cool, right? Because then it's a tunnel, and tunnels are you know, an archetype of the demo scene.
So and Britelite was part of like helping you stipulate the rules. What's Britelite's contribution to the checkerboard challenge?
Yeah, so we were discussing the rules. I presented the idea about this Britelite and I discussed it at revision and agreed that this should be a challenge, and we sort of had that big bit of back and forth on the rules beforehand.
Do you have already your effect coded?
I started.
Well, you have the version from this intro, obviously, but can you make it, you know, better?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly make more than 4 layers.
I would say the 6th layer should be the pretty trivial one still.
Yeah, the 6 layers is the baseline, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how many layers you can actually get on the screen before it gets just way too crowded, or just looks like a tunnel. Like
you can't distinguish the layers anymore. Like you just see stuff back there, but you don't know if it's noise or if it's just another layer.
That's then where the creative part comes in.
Yeah, that's also what people have been saying in the discussions. But that mean how many layers can you actually see? But I think that's a matter of presentation. If you put the layers closely together, right behind each other, and you don't move them too much, you know, sideways up and so on, then you have like a tunnel in the middle. You might not be able to see much interesting through the other holes, but through the central hole you can have a tunnel shape which can look quite nice, and there you can see the layers as you fly through them. So I think it's possible to do a presentation of the effects which actually utilizes many layers.
I wonder if people will also rotate them, or if it will just stay, you know, X, Y.
If they can rotate it, then it's really cool. But we are expecting, you know, straight angles.
Okay, so Urs, are you going to participate on the checkerboard challenge?
I'm more concentrating on PC again right now, but maybe I should. So you say 6 layers is the baseline?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nobody will notice if one of them doesn't move, right?
Well, nobody has actually made 6 layers yet.
No.
Okay.
It's just that, you know, with 6 bit planes, you should be able to do 6 layers.
In principle.
Okay. In principle. Okay. So, does anyone have any questions about the checkerboard challenge in the chat? This is the perfect opportunity to ask your questions. I know Evil at least has one question. He wants to ask, why is Amiga the best computer ever? So you guys can answer that while people figure out more questions. So Britelite, why is Amiga the best computer ever?
Well, I don't know if it's the best computer ever, but for me it's a classic demo machine.
Was it? It wasn't your first computer though. You first had a Commodore, right?
No,
C64.
The first computer I had was a Dragon 32, and after that I got a PC. I didn't get a Commodore 64 until '94 or something.
Okay. Well, if no one has any questions about the checkerboard, let's move on to Britelite's part of the show.
Oh, I took 2/3 of the time. Sorry about that.
It's fine. So I asked Britelite earlier on about a demo that made him want to join the demo scene. So, and the one he picked was Rebel's Mega Demo. So actually, I'm only playing part 5 Subway because I picked the wrong video. But I guess we'll roll with that.
This is okay because this is the part from the Mega Demo that got my attention back in the days. And the whole demo itself is probably 1 hour long or something. So. But yeah, the thing, because I only had a PC back when I saw this in, I think in 90 or 91, my friend's Amiga, and it was the buildings moving with the music. That was the big thing for me.
Is that Godzilla? Is that Godzilla dancing? No, it's a guy. Oh no, it's Godzilla! Yeah, King Kong, okay.
Kong.
That makes sense. Why isn't he on the Empire State Building though? That would make more sense, but okay.
True.
Budget cuts.
Yeah.
So you saw this and you decided, I want to be a part of the demos in This Is Awesome.
Yeah, I didn't really know about the scene back then, but this made me want to code something like this. Although I only had a PC and I didn't know how to code that well, I only did some stuff in BASIC. But I still tried to do stuff in BASIC too. So, yeah, this is the demo that got me started.
So, what year was this released originally?
I think this was released in 89 or 90, but I saw it in 90 or 91.
Okay. So, and you hadn't gone to any assembly demo parties yet?
No, well, the first assembly I went to was in 94.
Okay. So I tried to find some of your early demos from Dekadencce and stuff like that, but I couldn't because there are no captures of it. So the first one that I actually found was, or you told me about it, was a Bad Moda from 97. Yeah. This is from Alpha Design. And Alpha Design seems to be a group focused more on text mode. Is this correct, or is it just my mistake?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, this was back in, 97. I only had a 386 that I coded on, so if I wanted even some kind of a decent frame rate with my limited skills, I had to do in text mode.
So, but when did you first started programming? Was it in 93?
92, 91 in BASIC, but I started learning Turbo Pascal and assembler in the mid-90s.
Okay. But I remember your first entries were all for retro computers, like Commodore 64 and Amiga, so how did you go back from PC into those computers? Or why did you go back?
Yeah, I was always more interested in the Commodore 64 and the Amiga, but PC was the first machine I had, and actually because I only had a PC back in the day, so I only mainly watched PC demos when I started playing BBSs.
Mm-hmm.
And I started as a musician and a graphics artist, and we had a Chai of Alpha Design and Dekadencce was our main coder back then, but he didn't get any code made, so I had to start coding instead.
As we say in Finland, Vittu Chai.
Exactly.
So this was made for the text mode demo compo, I believe, and there's another one coming up, and this is actually the 20 years or the 20th edition of text mode demo compo, and it's threatening to be the last one. So what can you tell us of your experience participating on the text mode demo compo?
Yeah, it was pretty fun. I mean, I participated in the first ever text mode demo compo in '96. I don't think there's a capture of that demo, and it's not particularly good. And this was from the second text mode demo compo. I participated, I think, in 3 or 4 when they only had DOS entries still. Then I made a few text mode demos for Windows.
I remember Bolognese was already for Windows, right?
No. Yeah. I think that was the second one on Windows I made.
Mm.
And
we have it queued actually, so I can play it now.
Yeah.
It's Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Do you use like converters to text mode, or was it just directly coded?
Directly coded. For the Windows, I frame buffer drew Fortnite to the vector for that. But then those did everything.
People nowadays to be more focused on converting, like from their engines into text mode, and have proper colors using potential entry in particular point of using text mode like a more BS.
Yeah, because the art I still don't the text. I mean, I'm more of a look and solid.
Hold on, I mean that it's buffering. If it's buffered, we might have to change.
Oh yeah, to be. Now it's moving.
My internet. I have no drop frames. 0. So that's the relayer. I'm gonna change another relay, which should be that and only be working from here on out. Let's try connecting. Should be working. Let's see.
Let's hope so.
Okay.
Nothing yet.
So let's assume that it's better and keep talking.
Yeah.
So right now we're playing My Condom by Haujob and Dekadencce. So how did you end up doing collaboration with Haujob?
Yeah, I was. I don't remember which part it was, but probably in 2001, where Droid of Haujob was really interested in doing something for the C64. So we planned up. I actually went to his place and we made this during a few days before assembly, 2002. Because me and Sound Demon made the soundtracks in advance, and then I just tried to come up with effects to fill out the time.
People still complain about buffering. Okay, hold
Yeah.
on. Let me try. I'm gonna pause this. I'm gonna try another relay, and hopefully it's a better one. Let's see if it's any better now. Okay. Let's try Madrid now. Let's see. I'm gonna play the demo from the beginning. Because at least the Skype connection is okay. I mean,
Yeah,
usually it gets like stuttery and stuff when it's broken, so it should be the relay.
Must be just Twitch being Twitch.
Now it seems to be working at least. The Twitch one.
Okay, so let's try this again. So Britelite, how did you end up doing a collaboration with Haujob?
Yeah, it was because Droid was interested in doing something on the C64 and back in 2001, I think. So we talked about it at some party and we thought about what should we do? Should we make a... Because I really loved My Kingdom by the Haujob and Scoopex Corporation on Amiga.
Yeah.
I kind of thought that hey, it would be fun to make kind of a tribute demo, but not directly, you know, a port or remake. So we made this. I spent a few days at Droid's place and we finished most of the demo. And yeah.
And Droid was not into C64 programming at the time at all, so did he just like learn? He already knew assembler, or?
Well, at the end of the day, he didn't really do that much coding. He would generate most of the maps and help with the graphics and
okay,
conversion kind of things.
I think you
and hooked me up with a lot with the Haujob graphics guys.
Okay. Like I'm trying to figure out what position this got, and he got second place at Assembly 2002.
Place,
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so pretty nice demo. So have you participated in assemblies a lot? I remember seeing you on stage a lot of times, getting awards. So how many assemblies did you win by now?
I don't remember how many I won, but from 1999 till 2016 I at least got a top 3 place at every assembly.
Okay, that's pretty good. And now you're part of the organizing team as well, so can you tell us a little bit of what's up with the old school platform
yeah, we
thing?
had a discussion with Joppe about it. We will keep the compo pretty much the same next year as it was this year. We will refine the rules a bit, mainly regarding the setups of the machines, and we will probably lift up the limit for the 8-bit computers.
Can you remind us what platforms were allowed in the old school?
Now it's pretty much for the PC it's a Pentium 133 MHz, Amiga 060, Falcon 060, and then you have the Amiga 500, Atari ST, Commodore 64, VIC-20, MSX, Amstrad CPC, Atari 8-bit, and Spectrum.
Okay, cool.
So pretty much anything all the classic hardware is allowed.
And if you have a machine that's not in that list, you should just deliver it to the Wild Compo?
Well, either you contact us or then Wild Compo.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, the music on this one is pretty sick.
Yeah, it's a Sound Demon's own sound player that plays in 8 speed on a 64. And that's really weird test bit noises.
Dawning of my condom. Yeah, you basically replaced Kingdom by condom everywhere.
Yeah.
It sounds so ominous.
Indeed.
Okay, so let's take a look at the next demo we have lined up. It's from RNO and Function. It's called the Porno Funk, back for the Amiga AGA. So
yeah.
What can you tell us about this collaboration?
Yeah, it was I made it together with Chavez of Function, and he actually came to my place. I think he stayed for a week almost, and we made this demo from start to finish during that week. Pretty much just, you know, having a few beers and coding the demo every day. And I remember he pixeled most stuff on a PC, and it was very hot. I had a small student apartment, and it was so hot that we had to put, you know, a big table fan blow on his computer, so it was
so it wouldn't overheat.
Yeah, exactly. And it was released at, I think, Solskogen or Kindergarten or something, but they didn't have a 060 Amiga, so they ran it on 030. But I think
it was
still
slow like hell.
Yeah, but it still got, I think, 2nd or 3rd place, which was
okay.
Nice.
So for this AGA stuff, do you code in C or assembler?
Nowadays I put everything together in C, but all the effects are done in assembler. But this was still 100% assembler.
Okay.
It's so much easier to first prototype the effects in C, and then just recode them in assembler when I know they're working.
Mm.
It's much easier to prototype in Shader Toy.
Yeah.
Is it easy to port from Shader Toy to assembler, to Amiga assembler?
No. Yeah, that's a converter.
As a converter, I just right-click and it converts.
Well, I
Shader
suppose
Toy
you
to
could
Amiga demo.
nowadays almost emulate an A500 in the shader.
It should be possible, I mean.
At least.
Yeah, but not the other way around.
No.
For those asking in the chat, this demo is called Porno Funk, or was called. Yeah. And now we're up to Grind, the demo that is not for Amiga AGA, according to Struck.
So Garbage Truck pointed out that I should mention that this is an OCS CCS demo.
Yeah, we actually targeted the Amiga 3000 with this one.
Okay.
So it pretty much requires an 020 CPU, but runs better on a 030 at 25 MHz.
There's a question on the chat if Calm's chunky to planner routines are still useful, or are they outdated nowadays?
I think they're useful still. Although usually handy to modify them a bit if you want to. For example, you could pretty much for free add an overlay to the graphics or something in the chunky to planner routine. So I think the concept routines with slight modifications would be really useful still.
Uzi says that you should just do planner stuff. Fuck chunky. Chunky is for old schoolers.
You waste a lot of time if you just do a plain C2P without anything merged into it.
Yeah, exactly.
Uzi is saying if you want to do chunky, do it for PC. Forget Amiga. I don't think I can agree with that.
Well, but I think this demo proves very well that if you just put effort in it, it can look very good.
Yeah.
Even on OCS.
You don't usually see much 3D stuff on OCS, that's probably why I thought this was AGA.
Yeah. Well, usually the OCS stuff is targeting the 500, so texture map 3D on Amiga 500 is pretty slow. But because we targeted Amiga 3000, so we had at least had some more grunt to rotate our cubes.
Okay. Movayesk is asking if an overlay like this helps with cycles. I don't think it helps much, but I'll let Britelite answer that.
No, this is just not to have, you know, a square screen. Well, I could, of course, optimize the face to check which pixels are obscured by the overlay, but no.
Wouldn't the check just cost more cycles than just rendering it?
Probably, but if you had an overlay that actually filled half of the screen, then it would actually be beneficial.
Okay, next demo we have is called Thrice by Dekadencce. It's actually 64K for revision, apparently.
Yeah.
So what's the story behind this one? Just recycling old effects?
Now we wanted to make a multi-part 64K intro.
Oh.
And it ended up being kind of maybe messy because the parts don't really look alike, but then again, that's what we were going for. We wanted to show that it's not all, you know, texture map 3D. We wanted different kind of parts, but in the end, I don't think they really fit together.
That's a shame.
But it is an awful lot of content, so in that respect it worked.
Let me check what place you got in the compo.
First.
I think it won, yeah. I was very impressed.
Indeed. It has mountains.
Not quite silk cut, but almost.
So
this one actually.
Go on.
This part actually was inspired by a conspiracy.
By the 64K, yeah.
Yeah, for the reflections, I faked the reflections. They're actually transparent.
And nowadays, do you target more Amiga stuff, or you're more focused on Commodore 64? What's your main focus nowadays? Like, what are you working on next?
The next project is for the Atari Lynx. But nowadays, probably Atari ST and Amiga are the main machines for me. I pretty much, you know, left the 64 scene already, but I'm doing some one-off stuff every now and then.
Like you do an entry for Zoo every year?
Yeah, every second year, because Zoo is only held every second year.
Okay.
But yeah, I have to support that party, so I always try to deliver at least something.
For those who don't know, Zoo is a Commodore 64 party in Finland. The only Commodore 64 party in Finland, I believe.
Yeah.
Mandatory greetings scene.
Indeed. Greetings are good way to
Loonies!
waste time.
It's like most of your second part is just greetings.
Yeah.
That works.
And explosions.
I'm tempted to skip to the part, to the third part. Yeah. Too many explosions. So I noticed that you usually collaborate with Bracket for graphics.
Yeah.
Do you guys just like each other's style, or?
Yeah, he does whatever I tell him to do. So.
That sounded a bit wrong.
I mean, graphics-wise.
only graphics.
No, but I think we work very well together, so... He pretty much knows, well... It's easy for me to explain what kind of a direction I'm going for, and so we pretty much keep feeding off each other while brainstorming.
Okay.
And he lives nearby, so that helps to do it.
Yep. That's always a plus when demo making. Oh, Blueberry, do your teammates are like walkable distance, or are they like just always remote work?
Well, usually remote. I mean, we meet up now and then, no, but not very often. Yeah.
I'm curious on like the percentage of Demoscene people who still work like locally. Like they get up, let's get together today and make a demo. I think it's pretty rare. Like that most people just communicate via email and then swap stuff back and forth.
No, it happens quite a bit in Helsinki, surprisingly. Simply because there's so many people sitting on one spot here.
Yeah, there's been the demo clubby, the scanner clubby create and all this kind of stuff, and I usually try to, for example, a few days before assembly, a few days before revision, I try to get people come over to my place to work on our demos or whatever.
Yeah, to finish stuff up. Mm.
Yeah.
Crunch mode.
Mates lives in the same city as me, at least, so we sometimes meet up and do stuff, or used to when we did stuff.
When you had time to do stuff.
Well, I think it's more a matter of his time, but yeah.
So we're now watching Higher State of Resolution.
Indeed, I think it was a few years ago I tried to make a demo purely in high res on Amiga, although the 060 Amiga, and at least on my 66 MHz 060 it has a pretty steady 25 frames per second. There was a few parts that skips a few frames, but I actually capped it at 25 because of the interlace, so it wouldn't try to run faster. And it ran like a dream on the compo machine too.
Do you have like, do you use your real hardware a lot, or do you mostly do it on emulators and then only test it at the end?
Well, I develop mostly using cross-compilers and WinUIE, but I regularly test on the real hardware just to make sure that everything is working fine.
Okay, do you often find issues?
Well, mostly regarding the speed. When I do, when I code for the Amiga 500, then I can trust WinUIE pretty good, but because you can't really match the 060 speed in WinUIE, there's no setting for that, so it's just guesswork the whole time.
Okay. What about you, Blueberry? When you do stuff for Amiga, do you mostly use the emulator or a real Amiga?
Yeah, it's about the same. I usually the emulator, but I want to do more, especially OCS coding on the real thing. So a few years ago, I bought an Amiga 600, which I'm doing a bit of stuff on, such as checkerboards. But I haven't really actually gotten around to do much with it yet, but that's the plan. But otherwise, you know, yeah, for the last many years, it's usually been coding an emulator and testing on the real thing.
What about you?
I, on the other hand, don't even have any Amigas here. I have one A500 is in Germany and I'm in Finland, so all the 2 Amiga demos that I did, the first time I saw them on real hardware was in the compo.
Well, at least you own one of them.
Yeah.
You just never use it. So we're moving on to Urs's part of the interview, and when I asked him what demo made him want to join the demo scene and do stuff on the demo scene, he mentioned Fistro by Future Crew.
It's by Future Crew, and a lot of people know the other big demos by Future Crew, like the big demos by Future Crew. And I certainly watched them back then and found them very impressive, but had no idea. But then I kept watching this one over and over again, not because it's in any way particularly awesome, but because it's very cute. And whereas the big demos like Second Reality and Unreal and so on, and Panic, are really, really awesome, this one, I always had the feeling this is just a little bit more difficult than what I can do.
I have a theory. You liked it because this one has physics in it.
A bit. No. The first part is not so important. This part is the one that I found very nice. There will be fish soon. And I felt like it's only a little bit more difficult than what I could do at the time. And I was very wrong. Because all I had at that time was QBasic under DOS, and I tried so hard to recreate anything in this demo using QBasic, and I never succeeded.
I wonder why.
this one I think came out in '92, and I must have seen it around '95 or so. And I wanted to do demos, but I never managed, and then I gave up. And about 13 years later, I had by that time studied physics and
realized that QBasic was not a very fast language.
Yeah, and all that, and learned how to write in C and all other languages. And then I decided that I could try this again, and went actually to my first demo party only in December 2008. So it took, between watching this and actually going to a demo party, it took me about 13 years. Part of the reason was also that I thought, yeah, I don't know any demo sceners, and these parties are so far away, not knowing that both Muesli of Titan and Hellfire of Howjob were actually living across the road from me.
Really?
I knew them, but I didn't know they were demo sceners.
So you're from Paderborn?
Yes, no, well, I'm from Detmold, but yeah.
But you were living in Paderborn?
No, but like Muesli was living at that time near there,
okay.
Also in Hagen, Detmold. So I only met them suddenly at a demo party and was very surprised. These 13 years later.
I see a lemming flying, or
yeah, there's lemmings, and some reason the fish change all the time. You can watch this for about 10 minutes before the same fish reappear. And it's very cute, and it was the first thing that I think you streamed Tracker 3 as a player. This was the demonstration for the player routine.
Okay, so we don't have your entry from 2008, but we do have your entry from Evoke 2009.
Yeah, what I decided then to do was a 4K for Linux, because I was a nerd and I didn't know what else to do, so I did Linux 4Ks, which of course meant there were no tools, no compressors, no experience, and I did my first demo and it took a while, and then I did the second one, which is this one, and this is actually much worse than the first one. I had a very precise idea what I wanted to do, and it just didn't come out right. And I wrote a synth and I had no idea how to write a synth, and so...
can I make a parenthesis on your call here? Did you know about the In4K website at the time?
No. After I released this, I talked to Lars of Mercury. I was not a member of Mercury back then. And he told me about all these things, and I was very excited that this is actually a thing. Okay. And then he asked me if I want to join Mercury and we should make some 4Ks together, which we never did 4Ks for Linux, but I think it turned out okay in the end. So you will soon hear that this demo runs into the end of its audio buffer and then plays random noise. So it was kind of bad.
It's direction.
Because suddenly I was a demo scener.
I wanted to ask you, because you are here and Blueberry is also here, who's also very much into 4Ks. I wanted to remind you guys that you should update in 4K, because it's now up on GitHub. Anyone can update it. At least the Amiga side of the page could really use proper description on how to do 4Ks on Amiga, and for Linux as well. I know there is an entry for Linux platforms there, but it's just like talking about headers and not really going much deeper into it. So it would be nice if there were more updates.
Have a look. Yeah. And then for a lot of time in Mercury, nothing much happened because we did some smallish intros here and there, or sometimes executable graphics was about the maximum effort we could put into it. Until suddenly Defox, the main organizer of Revision, asked us to do the Revision invitation. We skipped showing this one. That would have been Epsilon, which I think came out in 2011 or 2012 or so. I'm not sure anymore. But then we fell into a creative hole and did nothing. And Monks, who was at that time a Mercury member and left the group, basically enraged, telling us we never get anything done, we will never be a group that amount to anything, and he'd rather do stuff alone.
Were you already building up the famous Mercury shader toy library that everyone seems to be using nowadays? No, we had done nothing.
We had really done nothing. But since he said that we would never amount to anything, we would never get anything done, basically this was the kick in the butt that caused us to start thinking, hey, why don't we do something big? And this demo, the motivation for this demo was to actually do something. And so we just kept doing things, and we were collecting ideas for what can we march and what can we do in 64K and what geometry can we generate that nobody else has generated yet. And we just produced enormous amounts of content and then cut it together to this.
That's usually how demos or 64Ks are done. Do scenes.
It also helped that I did a small demo for the first Payback. I had just moved to Finland, and for the first Payback I did a demo for this handheld China console, the Dingo, together with Topi44, and it was horrible because all I did at the party place was typing numbers into header files, compiling, looking at it, changing the numbers, compiling, looking at it, and so on. And I was so fed up with editing numbers in header files that I decided I'll never edit numbers in header files again. I'll now write a demo tool that has a timeline where you can tweak parameters and click and so on. And suddenly that allowed the people with some actual artistic skill in Mercury to participate in the demo making. And Psychon from Switzerland, who's very, very good with colors, then was suddenly able to tweak colors. And our coda colors were gone, and it looked like this. So that was a very good idea.
Did Manx ever come back to the group?
No, but I think he was very appreciating of the positive effect that his kick in the butt had. I'm not sure. He's not been going to demo parties that much since, so I would really like to talk to him again.
And when this one came out, it was really like you really took the place by storm.
Well,
a huge amount of work, very quality rendering.
Much in a declining path, and there was only about 1 or 2 good ones every year. So the year before, Gaia Machina was basically the thing that revived the 64K genre, and we then took it up from there and decided we can also do good. And then the year after, of course, the entire battle with conspiracy took off, and now Logicoma and Tubraim are in the mix, and
now we seem to have a 64 scene that is active again, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So tell us about the assembly 64K compo. I mean, I recall you made a demo for, I believe, Amiga, saying I would do a 64K, but I can't because there is no compo anymore.
Yeah, due to the fact that there was so little 64Ks, the assembly organizers decided to ditch the compo. Fair enough, I guess. But I really would have wanted to make a 64K, so I did a demo for the Amiga, which basically just complained about that. It was a sing-along demo with a cheery little tune that just said that I would much rather like to code on a PC than rip my hair out while debugging Amiga code. And it had the desired effect because the year after, so this year, they had the 64K compo again. Unfortunately, it only had 3 entries because apparently not enough people were aware of it. So all you listeners, hello, you would like to come to Finland, it's a nice country, and you would like to make a 64K for next year's assembly. I would appreciate it.
I wonder if Conspiracy are doing one.
And remote entries are also possible.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But then you can't get drunk. Oh, well, I
see. That's true. Well, not in our good company, at least.
Yeah, yes.
Was that entry Hello Amiga? I'm gonna skip this because I mean everyone already knows the timeless. So is this the entry where you complain about the 64K?
No, actually, but this one here you see Blueberry that this one is using your
You're welcome.
This one was the first Amiga demo I did. As Britelite already mentioned, there is this thing called the Demo Club Create in Helsinki, where once a month we meet and try to make demos. And so Garbage Truck tried to convince me that it's really time to learn Amiga coding. And for about a year, I was trying to do what he told me, like learning from him and doing things the way he said. And it didn't really work. And then I decided to just do it and do exactly the opposite of everything he told me, and then I managed to make a demo. So this is not very advanced at all. It's an A500 demo. It does a little bit of very vanilla bitplane pushery tricks, but I was still insanely proud of it. And it would never have been finished if it weren't for the Finnish Amiga party, which is a demo party happening here, where you can only enter if you have a release. So I had no choice. I had to learn Amiga coding simply because I wanted to go to this party. And I also learned to make 4-channel mods, and I learned all the nasty things. And I learned it in all the wrong ways, because as you said, C would be the way to go. I have never done any C on the Amiga. This is all hand-coded assembly, and coming from the PC, it's ridiculous how debugging on the machine just doesn't work. Something doesn't work, and you just see that it doesn't work, and there's no proper debuggers, and yeah, I hate every second of it, and that's why I did another one, and I'm doing another one because it's great.
Yuppie is asking on the chat if you managed to convince Truck to make more demos.
I convinced him to make a demo, so he did release a demo at the Jumalauta party. The website is lying about that.
Yeah.
But he has still not done his Amiga demo, whereas I have. So that's that. And then the year after, we had to come back to the 64K competition and release this one here.
Yeah, Fermi Paradox, and this was completely insane.
We just decided we wanted to do, basically we were inspired by the movie Koyaanisqatsi, which is a movie I wouldn't even be able to describe what it's about. It's just using the Earth as a demo tool, and we wanted to do that in space. And we just wanted to do it correctly, so we started very early and just kept creating things. At the end we had, I think, accumulated about 45 minutes of material for this demo, and only picked the best parts. We also have some other cuts still lying around that I never published, and due to a NVIDIA driver bug, I cannot myself even watch anymore. So
I was gonna suggest that you make like a demo with leftovers of that. Or,
yeah, we have some. So the thing about the rendering techniques here is that we decided not to use dirty tricks that much. The atmospheric scattering in this thing is actually a simulation of atmospheric scattering. So this atmosphere looks like an atmosphere because it just simulates that. And in the scene where there are the Saturn rings, instead of just thinking about what is the artistic way to model the Saturn rings, I just went to people at work. At that time I was working in the Finnish Meteorological Institute, and there were people at my corridor that were studying the Saturn rings, and I just asked them about a paper, and they gave me a paper saying how the light scattering in the Saturn rings work, and I implemented the formula in there, and it had basically 0 free parameters. The only parameter you can tweak about the rings is the size of the grains, and that I tweaked until it looked correct. But there's no other free parameters. There's no colors to be set, no Fresnel components or anything. And then as a result, it just came out right. We didn't really have to do much apart from that.
This water
also, no
great.
dirty tricks in this water. It just simulates a water surface.
So this would be where that converter from the shader toy to Amiga code would be useful. You could make this nice in Amiga.
Indeed.
Well, we actually had to prototype all the landscape rendering here. This is actually polygons with a tessellation engine, but we had some prototype where I actually implemented an old-style Amiga voxel landscape engine in a compute shader that just runs 2 columns and renders them the old way, which also kind of worked, but was still too buggy, and this one also worked better and was smaller. But so in both directions, it's possible to adopt rendering techniques. And then there were some funny physics bugs that some people noticed and some people didn't notice. For example, in the initial party version of this, the planet in the previous scene was flipped by 90 degrees as opposed to the rings. And Cooper wanted to fix it, but I said, no, leave it in. We only fix it when anybody finds out. And only one person found out after about 2 months. And then we decided to fix it in the final.
The planet is wrong.
Also, the space station that you saw for about half a second, that took 2 weeks to build and tune, but it's only visible for half a second. But yeah, we just had lots of fun building this. It's just recreating scenes from science fiction movies and making them look better was suddenly possible, and then going to science fiction movies and complaining about their renderings being worse.
So what do you think about the new 64Ks that have been coming out and the new groups? Like people from Finland have also been doing some very cool 64Ks on last revision.
Oh yeah, I love the Macau exports, which is a bunch of people, all of whom I know from here, working together to get really 64Ks with a really nice artistic style. When I moved to Finland, I noticed that German demos always seem like they're engineered, but Finnish demos always seem like they want to express something. And that, if you compare a Mercury demo with a Macau Exports demo, you will see this directly, what the distinction between the two is. French demos, on the other hand, are art. Haven't made up my mind about Danish demos yet. Have to watch more.
Danish demos are just silly.
They have Vikings.
Oh, and I see there's Branch in the chat, so hello to Macau Exports.
So when did you guys create that plugin that everyone, not plugin, library that everyone uses? Was
that was just
demo?
collected over the years. It started with the Timeless, and then some demos that shall not be mentioned by some group that we totally not are in between. And Fermi Paradox, I think it was released just shortly before Fermi Paradox, so it was just something we collected over the years, and we just decided that it's now been hiding long enough and we just wanted to publish it.
Put it on public domain.
Because it's, I mean, some of the tricks are really not big tricks, and some of them are nice ideas, but none of the individual things is really a big step. It's just that it turns out to work pretty well.
Okay, so tell me about Deluxe and Premium. Why did you create 2 new groups, and why do they always make demos together?
Well, there was some evoke where we just kept registering groups with different shortcuts. Like one has a shortcut as NASA, and one is ESA, and then we had something Gold and something Deluxe and something Premium. I think we registered 25 groups in total or so at that day. All of which have no releases, and then at some point we went to Tursak, where we did this silly drive from Helsinki with a car for 13 hours. And
from Helsinki to Tursak?
Yes, we drove all the way. It was a very bad idea. Also, everybody got drunk, so I had to drive.
I hope you had fun at the ferry in the beginning, at least.
Yeah, it was nice. And we arrived, and Cooper had also just driven from Berlin to Tursak and was also tired, so we drank a beer and decided, let's make a demo. So we quickly made a demo on the spot. We just took our material test scene that we have in our tool always and just did ultra close-ups of everything so it can't see what it is. And that was the first Deluxe and Premium demo. We had the groups, so we just decided which of the group names to choose, and Deluxe and Premium sounds good together. So we just did that.
Okay.
And ever since then, this is now the name for Mercury releases that are not really Mercury releases. That are just some people at the party decide to make a demo, and we don't really like a Mercury release is something where we want the entire group to agree with.
I still must complain that the Evoke entry from Deluxe and Premium is not available in binary form just yet.
I don't have it either. Cooper did it. I don't have it. So nudge him.
Why is Cooper hiding from the world?
I don't know. Maybe he knows something that we don't
because
know.
It was the only entry that I wasn't paying proper attention for, because I was filming on my phone, like, oh, I'm gonna film a little sketch that I'm hosting the stream here at Evoke, and then put it online, and while I was doing that, the entry was playing, and I didn't pay proper attention, and now I can't watch it because the binaries don't exist.
I'm sure the organizers have them. I have no idea.
Yeah, I have to.
So this demo we're currently watching, I did for the Assembly 64K compo, and since nobody else of Mercury was coming here, it was only Red and me and SGZ working together, and so thus it wasn't the Mercury release. So it became Deluxe and Premium.
Okay.
There are also other groups that we release as, but then we don't mention them.
Yeah, it's a secret. Mayor was asking that we show this one, so we are showing this one.
This was the one. Wait, exactly. This is the one from last year's assembly where I complained.
The Amiga is old, so you've all been told. It's a stupid machine.
Worse, and debugging is worse than continuously being tear gassed. I can't even sing it. I don't remember it. And yet hear my voice, I do not have a choice. It's Amiga I code on today. I would much rather be coding on a PC. 64K.
That works very well.
64 glorious kilobytes, shader magic and stuff. Without a compo to do this in, assembly is not good enough. Yes, and so on. I was actually inspired by the title screen of Cave Story for this, and then with my limited Amiga skills, I just did what I could do.
This reminds me so much of Gasman stuff for some reason.
Oh yeah, I had just before watched Gasman's demo about jetpacks. I was inspired by it. If he can do a sing-along demo, I thought I can do it as well.
The demo scene needs more sing-along demos, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyways, we have one more demo to show today. It's called Happy Birthday Dekadencce. And this was released at the Dekadencce, was it 15 years? 20 years? Party?
20 years.
20 years. You guys are old.
And as you can see, there might be a bit of reuse of Fermi Paradox material that was unreleased. The party was happening in a weird factory in Tampere. And I came there and I thought I can't just go to a demo party without a release, so I just took everything that I had lying around, put a letter into every scene, and made this. And I had asked T11 before to make a soundtrack, which really keeps this demo together, because he just, within an evening, he can create something extremely awesome.
This doesn't sound like T11 at all, like it doesn't have guitars yet.
Well, he has learned to use other instruments.
Wow! Okay. Evolution from T101 music style.
Yes. Oh yeah, and this is actually also the same location where the next demo party I'll be going to in 2 weeks is happening. The Vortex party in Tampere is in the same location as this.
Oh really?
So if everything goes right, I will release 2 subsequent demos at the same location, which is a bit weird.
Don't forget to reuse the same scenes, but change the colors a little bit.
That could work.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll do something.
Maybe the letters as well.
Yeah. Happy birthday Vortex. And less letters, less scenes. Easy peasy. Ask T101.
Okay, so that was it for this episode of Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000. If anyone has any questions, this is the right time to ask them. Otherwise, we will be wrapping up the show. Sorry for those technical details halfway. It happens, not my fault. Restream.io sucks, but we'll figure it out. I'll glue the videos together somehow. So thank you everybody for joining on the chat, and our guests, of course, Britelite, Urs, and Blueberry. Thank you so much for showing up, telling us a little bit more of the checkerboard challenge. Don't forget to attend GURP with your entry for the checkerboard challenge. It's in the beginning of February, so bring out your Amiga and all that jazz, or go to Vortex party next week apparently.
Yes. Middle of February in the middle of Sweden.
What could possibly go wrong? February in Sweden. What else? I'd like to thank my Patreons, of course. Garfield, Punctured, Jeff, Paul Jean Popkit, Jakub Pomuski, El Topo, Fulcrum, and Pixel Nerve for supporting me doing this show. If you want to know more about Patreon, just go patreon.com/psenough, and you have information there about how you can support the show if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. You can just watch and share it to your friends. See you in 2 more weeks for another episode of Mystery Demoscene Theater 9000. No clue on the guests yet. If you guys have any suggestions, please just send me a mail. And Urs says yay. Okay, bye everyone. Take care. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.